Her delivery seemed unusually detached, as if she had pre-rehearsed her words, and the impact of them took me aback. In a brief moment, 3 years of our relationship were condensed into a casual, offhand remark. My girlfriend Maya gazed at me tranquilly from over her coffee cup rim, informing me she desired to eliminate any turmoil in her existence. However, what she really intended was more straightforward. She wanted me to desist from asking questions. Questions concerning the mysterious disappearance of funds from our joint savings account. Questions regarding the sudden surge of notifications on her phone from college group chats, which now appeared far more significant than our dialogues. Maya was merely weeks away from graduating from one of the nation's most esteemed law schools. Strangely, this achievement, meant to be the pinnacle of her life, was largely a result of sacrifices I had made. During extended hours in libraries and classrooms, she pursued studies, while I endured grueling double shifts at a warehouse to cover tuition, rent, bills, and the costly lifestyle associated with her academic environment. I felt I was securing our future, but as her graduation neared, a subtle change occurred. In her gaze, I transformed from partner to symbol of past hardships she wished to abandon. I refrained from debate or reiterating my sacrifices. Instead, I met her eyes and uttered one composed word, "Understood." A tranquil smile graced her face, the kind people wear when they think they've mastered a situation. Perhaps she believed she had silenced me once more. However, my silence was not surrender. It was the soft echo of a door finally shutting. For the ensuing 4 hours, I navigated our apartment methodically. Maya departed to commemorate concluding her final tests with her affluent peers, leaving the dwelling vacant. I gathered solely possessions that were mine. Garments I had paid for, crucial papers, personal items of substantial worth. Everything else remained in its original place. The furniture, the ornaments, all the pricey items that at one time turned our apartment into what we referred to as home. As I depleted my part of the wardrobe, an unanticipated event transpired. A sense of lighter burden washed over me. It was as if I was discarding years of emotional baggage I had borne while striving to be a solid base for someone who had already started drifting away. Scarcely a month ago, I received a job proposal in Texas. It encompassed a managerial role within a prominent energy company, offering almost double my present salary, and a brand new beginning in an unfamiliar location. I had silently held the proposition as a reserve, considering it my backup plan if life didn't turn out as planned. Initially, I envisioned myself presenting this to Maya, believing we were constructing a shared future. However, standing before our empty wardrobe filled with unused hangers, I came to an essential truth. The person I truly required to construct a future was none other than myself. This revelation solidified when I stood in the kitchen, gripping the weighty ring of house keys. I recalled the day we first moved into that apartment, our excitement palpable, the numerous vows about the life we'd build together. Yet over time, those promises subtly transformed. I was the one constructing, she was the one spending. Without leaving a note or uttering another word, I placed the keys on the worn wooden kitchen table. Nearby sat the designer graduation gown that Maya had insisted I purchase for her ceremony. A $500 silk artifact symbolized her triumph, now seemingly signifying the demise of our bond. I didn't depart with recriminations, nor did I leave reasons. She desired tranquility, thus I provided what she requested, silence. The void left by the man who had stood by her all along was palpable in the apartment as I exited without a glance back. The door clicking shut echoed like the decisive bang of a judge's gavel marking the end of a protracted trial. As I navigated toward the state border, the city lights gradually vanishing behind me, a profound serenity enveloped my core. For the first time in years, I felt liberated. No longer was I the man who lived solely to earn another's approval. No longer was I the man who funded someone else's aspirations while neglecting my own dreams. Texas beckoned, promising a new occupation, a fresh start, and an unfamiliar audience for my narrative. The long road lay before me, and I switched off my phone, severing the last digital link to Maya's realm. Silently, a new phase of my existence commenced. When Maya eventually re-entered her quiet apartment, she would discover precisely what she had requested: a life devoid of queries, a life absent conflict, and a life without the man who had been maintaining order behind closed doors. With me gone, her idyllic graduation tale was poised to collide with the raw truths of existence. For the first time, I wouldn't be shouldering the consequences. Texas welcomed me with an unfamiliar warmth, a dry, piercing sunlight that seemed to incinerate the remnants of my former life. Within 2 weeks, I had acclimated to my new position overseeing a logistics center for a significant energy corporation. For the first time in my adult existence, my bank account was wholly mine. My routine was mine to command. My days were no longer dictated by someone else's predicaments. Established a tranquil schedule centered around work and gradually regaining self-assurance. One night, I activated my old phone to retrieve some professional contacts. As soon as it linked to the network, the device started vibrating incessantly. Missed calls, voicemails, numerous messages. For 5 continuous minutes, the alerts came flooding, a tempest of turmoil from the past life I had abandoned. Initially, Maya's messages appeared irritated and demanding, seeking my whereabouts and wondering why the apartment's internet was disconnected. However, with time, her tone shifted. The anger transformed into fear. The rent was overdue. The deposits for her graduation party were being returned, and the individual who discreetly handled her finances had mysteriously vanished. One voicemail stood out. She had left it 3 days after I departed. Her voice quivered as she spoke from the empty apartment, crying about the landlord issuing eviction threats. It was then that I understood the reason. In stealth, she employed some of her security deposit to acquire an extravagant new wardrobe for job interviews at law firms. In her voicemail, she implored me to return it. She labeled my silence as cruel, yet the reality was straightforward. The only theatrics in this predicament stemmed from the turmoil she generated by presuming I would continuously bail her out. Respect isn't solicited when it has already been squandered selfishly. While seated in my new office with a sweeping view of the expansive Texas landscape, I listened to her message without experiencing any emotion. Our connection had ceased to exist. At that juncture, Maya felt less like someone I once cherished and more like a character from a novel I had already concluded reading. The most telling missive arrived from her mother. She had historically treated me as a servant rather than a prospective son-in-law. Her message was enraged. She accused me of deserting Maya and even issued threats of legal action over the graduation costs I had previously covered. I found myself unable to suppress my laughter. Them I had never been a comrade. Instead, I was a resource, a human debit card. As the card eventually malfunctioned, they exhibited fury. That instance served as an enlightening revelation. Opting for tranquil exit proved to be the most prudent course of action. Rather than engaging in disputes, I merely extricated myself from the predicament. Gradually, I erased the messages. Then I barred every number pertaining to that phase of my life. The ensuing quietude felt remarkably serene. Eventually, my curiosity led me to peruse social media posts from shared friends. The images portrayed a narrative distinct from the glamorous lifestyle Maya had consistently endeavored to convey. The grand rooftop graduation party was scrapped. In its stead, the pictures displayed Maya standing solitary outside the ceremony venue. Her designer graduation gown appeared creased. Her obligatory smile could not veil the strain on her visage. Yes, she had secured a law degree, but she had lost the base that had subtly propelled her to that point. When one treats those bolstering them as replaceable instruments, inevitably, they find themselves isolated. Approximately a month later, the conclusion of Maya's lesson materialized. A mutual acquaintance shared a link to a local news article. The piece detailed a legal conflict involving the very law firm that had pledged Maya a junior associate position. Her mother's frantic attempts to alleviate financial burdens pushed her towards a predatory lender. When Maya attempted to leverage her new legal standing against the lender, the situation spiraled into accusations against the firm. To dodge scandal, the firm swiftly rescinded her job offer. Her career crumbled before it even started. In a quaint Austin cafe, I silently read the article. The irony was inescapable. The turmoil Maya once disdained had swallowed her entire future. A few weeks later, a handwritten letter landed on my office desk. The letter came from Maya. In it, she acknowledged her realization of her actions. She detailed the deafening quiet of the apartment and how the keys I left on the kitchen table echoed louder than any dispute. She admitted she had relegated me to a supporting role instead of treating me as an equal partner. She was now working as a clerk, gradually paying off her debts. This was the first time she took genuine responsibility, but it was too late. I gently folded the letter and tossed it in the bin, not out of rage, merely because that phase of my life had concluded. In Texas, I constructed something new, a career born from my own labor, friends who valued me, and eventually someone who grasped the essence of partnership. Occasionally, we sit on the porch of my house, watching the Texas sunset and discussing our future. And in those tranquil moments, I gain a clear insight. Walking away silently wasn't a sign of weakness. It was self-respect. Today, I'm no longer a supporting role in someone else's narrative. I've moved on to scripting my own life. The quietness I departed from has transformed into the tranquility that now embraces me daily. Maya obtained her degree while I found my vista. Our fairy tale concluded, but the ensuing reality surpassed expectations, and the man who once retreated in silence eventually returned home.